Hey folks, you've found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Portions of Cork are brought to you tonight by vitamin-fortified post-grape nuts, the natural cereal with the crunchy, nutty taste people like.
Hi, we're New Edition, and we're here to introduce the great new taste of Coca-Cola, the taste of today. Yeah, Coke is it. Come on, check it out now. It's got a new taste. It's a definite wow. A great event. It is a big smash hit. I'm making it free. It's doing what you feel. You know to me. This new taste is a hit. Coke is it, Coke is it.
Recently, an independent research firm ran a taste test between Coke and Pepsi, and the taste more people chose was the taste of Coca-Cola. Yes, more people all across the country, when comparing Coke to Pepsi, chose the taste of Coke as the better taste. Let's look at it this way. We gave America a choice, and more people said Coke is it.
It's a hit. It's a Coke. Coke is it.
Can somebody out there tell me why Coke did it? Why they changed? First, they said they were the real thing. Then they said they were it. Then kablooey, they changed. So now, I'm going to try my first Pepsi. But I still want to know why Coke changed. Now I know why.
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
I'm Don Keogh, president of the Coca-Cola Company. When we brought you the new taste of Coke, we knew that millions would prefer it, and millions do. And we knew that it would beat the taste of our major competitor, and it does. What we didn't know was how many thousands of you would phone and write asking us to bring back the classic taste of original Coca-Cola. Well, we read and we listened, and you know the rest. They're both yours, the new taste of Coke and Coca-Cola Classic. Your right of choice is back.
What a tan.
What a tan. What a tantalizing, moisturizing, mesmerizing. What a tan. What a tantalizing, mesmerizing, moisturizing. What a tan.
What a tan is different. Keeps your skin moist and sensuous. Go ahead, feel the difference. What a tan.
When I was a kid, aside from the great Batman television show starring Adam West, The Adventures of Superman was the only other live-action superhero show that I remember watching on TV until the mid-70s. While I've always loved all 6 seasons of the show, I must admit that the first season of Superman is just a little extra special for me. It seemed like it was a little bit grittier, less of a kid's show, and more of the kind of program that everyone in the family could enjoy. And I have to say, much of that has to do with Phyllis Coats. You see, not only was Phyllis extraordinarily beautiful, she also just seemed to be more like how I imagined a hard-nosed reporter would be. And while she would still find herself in frequent peril, she was Lois Lane after all, I always felt like if Superman hadn't broke through that wall and saved her, well, she still might have found a way to emerge victorious and beat the bad guys. Yep, Phyllis Coats. Well, she was just one of the most badass Lois Lanes that ever graced the TV or movie screen, and yet she's also one of the most forgotten. This despite the fact that prior to the adventures of Superman, Phyllis was already a well-established figure in the entertainment industry. Yep, she'd been working for almost a decade, and the role of Lois Lane, while obviously a good one, wasn't a role that she was pinning the entire success of her career on. So maybe that's part of the reason that when the Adventures of Superman returned for a second season, Lois Lane was played by this lady, Noel Neill. Noel had played Lois before in the Superman movie serials of the 40s. So for many, I imagine, the change in actors wasn't all that disconcerting. So why did Phyllis Coats walk away? Well, for years, the prevailing story has been that because there was a longer than normal break between the first and second seasons of the show, Phyllis had found additional work, and when it came time to start filming season 2, she just wasn't available. And that's probably part of the reason. I mean, after all, in 1952, Phyllis could be seen appearing in Jungle Drums of Africa with future Lone Ranger Clayton Moore. And then a year later, she was a principal in the Western Topeka. To be entirely truthful, Phyllis was one of the hardest working actors in the industry during the 50s and early 60s, and those commitments that kept her from appearing in the remaining 5 seasons of The Adventures of Superman, well, they were indicative of just how in demand this lovely lady was. But it was more than just the movie commitments that kept Phyllis from returning to the role of Lois Lane. Much later on, Phyllis confessed to journalist Susan Cantrell that she didn't enjoy playing dumb. In the article, she said that during the first season, she argued repeatedly with producer Robert Maxwell that a woman as intelligent as Lois would figure out that Clark Kent was actually Superman. It just didn't sit right with her that the show's producers had no plans to ever let Lois be in on Clark Kent's big secret. And I've got to say, I completely agree with her. And I'm not surprised at all that all of the live-action Superman TV shows and movies since that time have allowed Lois to figure out that the Man of Steel is also her co-worker at the Daily Planet. So as long as we're talking about Superman, I've got to shamelessly self-promote another video that I posted to YouTube a while back about George Reeves. I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one, so hold tight. Phyllis once again returned to the world of Superman during the 90s when she played Lois's mother, Ellen, during a guest appearance on the ABC television program Lois and Clark. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed seeing these two perform together. It was almost as much fun as when Noel Neill played Lois's mom in the 1978 movie starring Christopher Reeve. Alright, that's it. Oh wait, no it's not. Do you ever think about cool crossovers that never happened but absolutely should have? Here's one. Imagine Clark and Lois heading to Mayberry to investigate the mysterious disappearance of the town's first woman pharmacist, Ellie Walker. That would have been great TV. Okay, now it's your turn. Were you a fan of The Adventures of Superman? And more specifically, Phyllis Coats? Leave your memories in the comments section, and if you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button. And what the heck, why not subscribe to my channel? I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Hey folks, you found GSTV, that stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
2 truths, 1 lie. All about Morgan Freeman. Can you figure out the lie? Morgan Freeman starred in a children's television program on PBS. Morgan Freeman was originally cast by director Christopher Nolan as Alfred the Butler in the Dark Knight trilogy. Morgan Freeman is good friends with country music star Kenny Chesney. Which one is the lie? And while you're trying to figure that out, consider this. 3 of Morgan Freeman's films are on the American Film Institute 100 Most Inspiring Movies of All Time. They are Driving Miss Daisy at number 77, Glory at number 31, and if you said The Shawshank Redemption was Morgan Freeman's most inspiring movie of all time, according to the American Film Institute, you are correct. It lands at number 23. Now back to the lie. If you said that Morgan Freeman starred in a children's television show on PBS in the early 70s, you would be correct. That program was The Electric Company, and Morgan Freeman played a character called Easy Reader. If you said that Morgan Freeman was originally cast as Alfred the Butler in the Dark Knight trilogy, you would be absolutely incorrect. Morgan Freeman, from the get-go, was cast as Lucius Fox, Bruce Wayne's trusted confidant. And of course, that makes the fact that Morgan Freeman is good friends with country music star Kenny Chesney absolutely true. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you'd like, there's probably a couple videos there to the right of Morgan that you can click on and watch as well.
Turn it on. Leave it on. America, see the music you want to see.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV. I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
24 hours a day on cable TV.
Stereo, interview, guest DJ, tour day, world premiere video, special, music news. I want my MTV, MTV, MTV.
Yeah, too much is never enough.
Earlier this month, Harvard University's humor magazine, the Harvard Lampoon, sent movie star John Wayne a letter. In part it said, "You're not so tough. The halls of academia may not be the halls of Montezuma, and maybe ivy doesn't smell like sagebrush, but we know a thing or two about guts." And then the Lampoon challenged conservative Wayne to come to Harvard, which it described as the most intellectual, the most traditionally radical, in short, the most hostile territory on earth. Well, Wayne accepted the challenge, and David Culhane reports.
Even at Harvard University, people go crazy when a real old movie star shows up. Duke John Wayne was mobbed in Cambridge, Massachusetts today. The band played as Wayne rode into town on the top of an armored personnel carrier supplied by sympathizers in the United States Army Reserves. But the hostilities began with a few well-placed collegiate snowballs. Wayne took his lumps like a real He-Man. Even in this center of liberalism, conservative Wayne was met by a crowd of thousands who only wanted to touch him. Police and soldiers had to convoy him into a Harvard Square theater to face a roasting from the Lampoon staff.
Is it true that your toupee is real mohair?
Oh, sure, that's real hair. Not mine, but real hair. I'm having a hard enough time imitating the people that are imitating me.
I don't care what they say about you, Duke. It's still a man.
Why on earth would an old warhorse like John Wayne agree to such a verbal pummeling from these whippersnappers? Well, his latest film was premiered here today. Maybe that had something to do with it. David Culhane, CBS News, Cambridge.
One other question asked of Wayne was whether President Nixon planned to make a movie about himself. Wayne replied, he's a good enough actor. And that's the way it is. Tuesday, January 15th, 1974. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
If you were an avid TV watcher the way that I was in the 70s, then this should be a pretty darn familiar face for you. Yep, Valerie Bertinelli seemed to be everywhere. She was, of course, one of the stars of the hit TV show One Day at a Time, along with Bonnie Franklin, Mackenzie Phillips, and Pat Harrington. On that show, Franklin played a single mother with two very smart alecky daughters. I know that there are those who will vehemently disagree with this statement that I'm about to make, but this show, in my mind, was one of Norman Lear's best. I say that because I felt like this show still tackled some pretty topical issues, but it didn't seem as heavy-handed as some of his other shows. And it did seem like I laughed more while watching this show. And I knew for certain that Bertinelli was going to be a big star when she made an appearance on the cover of Dynamite Magazine. This magazine, like no other, had the uncanny ability to forecast fame and fortune. Of course, TV Guide also did a pretty good job of that as well, and Valerie, along with her castmates, made frequent appearances on the cover of that magazine. Way more than what I've pictured here. In fact, it seemed like every time that I went to the grocery store with my parents, Valerie was on the cover of TV Guide or something else. And in the early 80s, her appearances seemed to exponentially multiply when she fell in love with rocker Eddie Van Halen. I was a big fan of his music and, of course, a big fan of Valerie as well, so this was indeed a match made in Hollywood heaven. And before you knew it, the press was all over the relationship. Valerie hit the big time with interviews in Us and People magazine, and at this point, Valerie was also still working on One Day at a Time as well. The show was in its final seasons, but as you can see, Valerie mania was in full swing. Of course, later on, the press would seem to revel in some of the trials that she and Eddie faced. I've got to think that Valerie knew exactly what she was getting into when she married Edward Van Halen. He was a notorious partier, and I truly believe that while there may have been some surprises along the way, she realized that her husband, this rock and roll god, was actually a human being. Incredibly talented, but also incredibly flawed. Valerie's marriage to Eddie Van Halen lasted more than 2 decades and yielded a great blessing in the form of a son. Wolfgang Van Halen is Eddie and Valerie's only child, and as such, Ms. Bertinelli truly did decide to take life one day at a time. She cherished her years as Wolfie's mom and did her best to teach him her values, the importance of being kind and always trying to do the right thing. You know, I had the pleasure of watching Wolfgang perform with his father a few years back in Denver, Colorado, when Van Halen reformed to support a new album titled A Different Kind of Truth. Sure, it was kind of a bummer that original bassist Michael Anthony wasn't on stage with David Lee Roth and the Van Halen brothers, but that feeling was offset by seeing a father and a son performing together. It was at that point that I realized that Van Halen was pretty much a family band. Lead singers would probably come and go, but from that point on, the core musicians in the band would be family. And you know what? I was okay with that. Wolfgang has proven wise beyond his years recently as he has stepped into the spotlight to defend current pop sensation Billie Eilish, who claimed not to know anything about Van Halen. In a tweet responding to those who were critical of Ms. Eilish, Wolfgang said, "Music is supposed to bring us together, not divide us." I absolutely love that very thoughtful response. Well done, my friend, well done. In the early 2000s, as Valerie's marriage was winding down and Wolfgang was getting a bit older, Valerie returned to episodic television during the final 2 seasons of Touched by an Angel. In other videos, I've talked about how much I enjoy TV and movies that deal with the concepts of heaven and angels, And this show is no exception. And although Valerie hadn't been absent from television and movie screens, it was great to have her back on a weekly basis. And then, in 2010, Valerie, along with an awesome cast of co-stars, including the legendary Betty White, began a 6-season run in the TV Land sitcom Hot in Cleveland. I really loved this show, and just like Valerie, I was incredibly disappointed that TV Land decided to cancel it. The chemistry between Jane Leeves, Wendy Malick, and Valerie made this show a ton of fun to watch. Plus, it was always great to see the forever youthful Betty White doing what she does best, making people laugh. Over the years, Valerie has constantly seemed to be fighting to keep the weight off, and because of that, she has become something of a champion for those of us who just can't eat what we want whenever we want. She has considered this something of a mission, one of her causes, and for that I am grateful. For a period of time, Valerie was a spokesperson for Jenny Craig, but for an even longer period of time, Valerie has simply tried to share with her family, friends, and even fans how to eat well, but not be miserable while doing so. And along the way, she's written a couple of books about her efforts to keep the weight off. No surprise here, folks. It's about the choices that you make one day at a time. And in 2011, Valerie remarried. Instead of a rock and roller this time, she married, get this, a financial planner. Despite a new partner, she has remained close to Eddie. A quick Google search will provide plenty of photos where Valerie is seen together with both husband number 1 and husband number 2. I am really glad that despite whatever difficulties that they had along the way, Valerie has chosen to remain friends with Eddie. By all accounts, they remain close. I'm guessing a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are forever connected by their son Wolfgang. Since the cancellation of Hot in Cleveland, Valerie has joined the Food Network and now stars in a wonderful show called Valerie's Home Cooking. And while there are lots of things on the show that Valerie makes that one would need to consume in moderation, she does still from time to time prepare recipes that are relatively healthy and still downright delicious. If you enjoy this type of programming, Valerie's show is one of the best. Valerie is also active on Twitter. These days it seems like she retweets more than anything else, but it's still a great way to understand where her head is at. Here's a recent retweet of the post by her son Wolfgang about Billie Eilish. Like I've said a couple of times during this video, Valerie really has become the master of living life one day at a time. And in doing so, it is clear that she has found a joyful path to journey down, despite life's inevitable twists and turns. So that's it. One last picture. How about one more from One Day at a Time? Here's one with the late, great Bonnie Franklin. You know, it really was a tremendously fun show to watch. Anyway, please share your memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I'd be honored if you would consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
With a smell like that, he doesn't have a chance.
Escape from dirt and odors with Lemon Fresh Dash. Its lemon freshening power dashes out some of the toughest odors and dashes in freshness.
Howdy, boys. Lose something? It's not him. Maybe over there.
Dash out odors. Dash in freshness.
Back in the late 50s and early 60s, Dwayne Hickman played the all-American teenager on TV's The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. One of the loves of Dwayne Hickman has always been painting, and these days, with a stroke of genius, he's turned his passion into profit.
Dobie! My name is Dobie Gillis. This is where I come to think when things bug me, which is like every day.
Dwayne Hickman spent his childhood and his young adulthood in front of millions of television viewers all across America. Now he spends his time carefully crafting works of art from a studio in his home, one stroke at a time, and sometimes with the tiniest of brushes. Hickman creates detailed paintings, often from real-life landscapes. These brushes, in Hickman's hands, bring beauty to life.
The flower bed, A Place to Dream, is behind a hotel in Cambria, California. Cambria Pines, I think. And it's out in the back, and I saw it. Actually, my son saw it, told me to take a picture of it. I did, brought the pictures home and started it, and it's been one of my favorite pieces.
Take a look around, and you quickly notice Hickman is attracted to the outdoors.
I think it's pretty and exciting, the shapes and forms, the natural colors and flowers, and just the natural color of outside. I enjoy that. I always wanted to paint, and I got sidetracked by television and movies, and I didn't really go into it till about 20 years ago. And I started painting as a hobby.
But with his actress wife, Joan Roberts, the two decided to take it a step further. They sell the art online and do gallery shows all around the country.
She runs our business. We're partners. It's a mom and pop deal. And Joan has a lot to say, and I solicit her advice. She has good taste, so I talk to her about everything.
Hickman clearly gets joy out of his work, and he hopes his joy is contagious every time his art finds a new home.
Well, I want it to be happy and cheer people up. If it's going to be in their house and all that, I want them to look at it and be overjoyed each time they look at it.
Hickman's art will be on exhibit at a gallery in Big Bear August 10th and 11th. For more on that and more about his art, just log on to abc7.com. Makes you want to buy, doesn't it?
It's beautiful. Now everybody's going to, though.
Well, hurry
We're
fast.
out of luck.
Yeah.
All right, George, thank you.
Hey folks, you've found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Pretty girl. She's not going to need a lot of luck in her career. She's been a model in the past, but right now, one of the stars of Battlestar Galactica, playing the role of Athena. It's the name of a Greek goddess, and she almost looks like one, together with Lorne Greene and Richard Hatch. And she likes to tell about how the whole thing feels when she's on the set.
I think the most intriguing thing is seeing the show once it's all put together, because the actors don't do the whole thing. We are only a part of the whole. And seeing the effects, and I get real excited when I'm out there flying a plane and I see it jetting through space, and yet when I'm doing it, you know, it's just right there on the old stage. So that's exciting. It is.
I mentioned that she plays the role of Athena, and it's a perfectly appropriate name for the young woman who looks like a Greek goddess.
Thanksgiving is such an awesome holiday. Really, if you think about it, it's one of the best. When else can you get together with family and friends, stuff yourself silly, and then fall asleep while watching a football game you probably don't care about all that much? And bonus points for not having to give anyone a gift that they probably don't need or want. Steve Perry, a few years ago, when asked by ABC News Radio about Thanksgiving in his home, said that the holidays, and Thanksgiving in particular, give him time to be mindful about the impact and last presence of those dear family members who are no longer around. He said, and this is a quote, "When I was younger it was different. Now it's a little bit more intense because my relatives are all deceased. My mom and dad are gone. Grandparents who raised me are gone, so sometimes it can be a bit melancholy and a bit difficult. Sometimes it can be rough, and I have a tendency to get a little too melancholy at times, and that can step into dark places." End quote. During that interview, Steve also added that he often reflects on his childhood during Thanksgiving, He said that the time that he had with his family together was real, and that he appreciated everything that they did for him. He also said that he had a wonderful mother, and acknowledged that after his father left at the age of 7, it was his mother who did her very best to raise a pretty darn edgy, problematic, and defiant child. One thing that I am grateful for is Steve Perry's 2018 release, Traces, which was the fulfillment of a promise to someone near and dear to him. The album, while maybe not as hard-rocking as some might have hoped for, has something else going for it. It has a whole lot of heart. And now, almost 2 years after the release of that album, Steve has posted a new video on YouTube. Perhaps one of the most heartfelt of all the songs on Traces, most of all. The song has been newly mixed and is an absolute joy to listen to all over again. And the new video is just a taste of the companion album to Traces that is about to be released for all of us Steve Perry fans who want more. On Twitter, Steve has said that he's excited to share the original seeds of some of his favorite songs from the Traces album. Well, I, for one, cannot wait to hear them. And even though the album will be released a week or so after the Thanksgiving holiday, it is still something that I am truly grateful for. Getting back to Steve's reflections on the holiday itself, Steve's right. Thanksgiving is a time to express gratitude for family and friends, and those who might be sitting around with you at your holiday table. But it is also a time to think back and remember those family members who gave of themselves and loved each one of us with all of their hearts. Hey folks, I hope for those of you that celebrate Thanksgiving that this year will be a memorable one, even with all of the craziness going on in the world around us. Alright, please leave your thoughts in the comments section, and if you would be so kind, please click on the thumbs up icon and give this video a like. It would mean a lot to me. I would also appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. It's where I share my music memories. However, with all that said, and most importantly, thank you for taking the time to watch this video.
Magnum, ha. Houston, don't make me laugh. Don't be caught with those wimps. Play ball with the A-team. Right after the Super Bowl.
Next Sunday
on NBC.
So deep a friendship hath one man for another, that no female caress shall ever tear it asunder. Boy, the guy that wrote that must have been some kind of a nut.
How do you heal a broken heart when you don't know where to start? She fell out of love long before I did. She said we needed some time apart. Well, welcome to the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Girl number 2 was named Thelma Lou. I got a grip, and the girl, she wanted me bad, but she left me standing at the altar waiting. I guess she didn't know what she had. Well, welcome to the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Janet and Chrissy were a couple of girls who were living next door to me. I was a real distant early. I dated them on and off for a while, just enough for them both to see that I graduated from the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above. Welcome to the Dynamite School of Love. First in my class I was a cut above.
I feel sorry for you, baby. You had your chance to fly with me, but you wasn't woman enough.
Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next. Back in the mid-70s, I don't think there were many whose stars shined brighter than Farrah Fawcett. Of course, back then I knew her as Farrah Fawcett Majors. And Ms. Fawcett Majors was on one of the biggest TV shows ever, good old Charlie's Angels. On that show, she starred as lovely Jill Monroe. She, along with Kate Jackson and Jacqueline Smith, helped make the Aaron Spelling-produced crime drama, which ran on ABC TV, one of the network's biggest hits. And this little old poster, well, it didn't hurt Farrah's popularity one bit either. In fact, this thing turned out to be the biggest selling pinup poster of all time. Between the various magazine covers and the poster rack at our local Kmart, I knew that Farrah Fawcett Majors was a force to be reckoned with. Getting back to Charlie's Angels, that show was a lot of fun for a ton of different reasons. Although technically a crime drama, the stories weren't too heavy, and just like the TV Guide advertisement says, these ladies were indeed an eye-popping, crime-stopping trio. So imagine my surprise when Season 2 rolled around and Jill Monroe had been summarily replaced by her younger sister Chris Monroe, played by the equally vivacious Cheryl Ladd. At the time, I didn't understand everything that was going on behind the scenes. I just knew that Farrah was gone. Although I do remember hearing that Jill would pop by the Townsend Detective Agency every now and again to lend a hand. So why did Farrah Fawcett walk away from Charlie's Angels while it was riding high in the ratings and on top of its game? Well, it really boiled down to three things. The first was money. Farrah didn't feel like she was getting paid enough during that first year. From what I understand, co-angel Kate Jackson was receiving twice as much as she was per episode, and that started to bother her a bit as her popularity increased over the course of that first season. Also, she didn't love the tiny percentage of the merchandising pie that she was getting. She also really wanted to make movies and be taken more seriously as an actor. That said, Farrah's transition to major motion pictures was a bit of a roller coaster ride. For every hit like The Cannonball Run, there was a movie like Sunburn. I don't know what to make of Saturn III. I don't think it did well at the box office, but I kind of liked that one. Heck, I liked Sunburn though too. And Somebody Killed Her Husband. And although it took a little longer than originally anticipated, Fawcett put all doubts about her acting abilities to rest in the early 80s when she starred on Broadway in the play Extremities, and then took that newly found acting street cred to the small screen in the made-for-television movie The Burning Bed. The third reason that Farrah walked away from Charlie's Angels is that fella right there, jogging alongside Farrah. Yep, the $6 Million Man. From what I understand, Farrah's contract was such that she was allowed to be done filming each day so that she could be home in time to make dinner for Steve. Oops, I mean Lee. His opinion meant the world to her, at least at this point in their relationship. And because of that, when he started telling her that she was capable of bigger and better things, well, who can blame her for listening? I remember reading somewhere that shortly after Cheryl replaced her on Charlie's Angels, Farrah commented that she was surprised by how easily the show had been able to find someone to take her place. I think that has more to do with Cheryl Ladd than anything else. The lady was a wonderful addition to the show, and if Farrah was going to leave, I can't imagine a better casting decision. By the way, does anyone else remember this issue of Crazy magazine? I certainly do. Crazy was a lot like Mad, and a lot of fun to read. It's hard to believe that all of these magazines, including Mad, are no longer around. Okay, one last picture. There they are, the original eye-popping, crime-stopping trio. What do you think? Did Farrah make the right decision when she chose to walk away from Charlie's Angels? Please share your thoughts and memories in the comments section, and while you're at it, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and what the heck? Why not subscribe to my little YouTube channel? I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Growing up, I loved The Waltons. The show premiered on CBS in 1972 and ran for a total of 9 seasons. There were just certain aspects of the show that really appealed to me. One was that Richard Thomas's John Boy character wanted to be a writer. That was something that I wanted to do as well. Another thing that I loved was just how close-knit the family was. That closing scene in each episode where everyone was wishing each other a good night, well, that really hit home for me. We kinda did that sometimes in our home, but as often as possible, I would wait for everyone else to fall asleep and then grab a flashlight and a comic book and enjoy a little more high-quality reading time before falling asleep.
And now, Bert, here is one of your peers, the 1978 Variety Club honoree, Mr. Jimmy Stewart.
I'm not going to talk to you, Bert. And the time I have to say a few words, I'd talk to your mother and father. Fern and Burt Reynolds, Sr. And, you know, you got quite a boy here. And you're very proud of him. All of us are very proud of him, too. He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman, and he's doing real well in the picture business, too. If you can call being #1 box office star doing very well, he's doing very well. But forget about that for a minute, you know. He cares about folks. He goes out of his way to help people. And there are a whole lot of people in this room that can testify to that. So. All I want to say to you is just how happy I am that Fern, you and Bert Sr., you get a night like this so you can just sit and smile at the attention and all the love that's being shown that that little fellow you brought into this world. You must be happy. But I'm going to make you even happier. I'm going to introduce your son. Ladies and gentlemen, Burt Reynolds, Jr.
Hey folks, you found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next. If you are a fan of the James Bond movie series, then you have undoubtedly, at one time or another, debated with friends which actor was the best James Bond. I've always argued that the first actor to play 007 was the best. I know there are others who point to Daniel Craig's more recent turn as Bond, but I don't know. There's just something about Connery's suave and debonair portrayal that really resonates with me. And that first James Bond movie 1962's Dr. No is such an absolute treat to watch. I am always impressed at the ease in which Connery slips into the role. So would you believe that Sean Connery almost didn't end up playing 007? Yep, he wasn't the producer's first pick. That honor went to this guy, Cary Grant. And apparently the only reason that Grant didn't get the role is because he wouldn't agree to anything more than a one-picture commitment. And from what I understand, this guy, actor Patrick McGowan, was also considered for the role. At the time he was starring as a secret agent on television, and it just made sense that he would make the producer's short list. However, the guy who ended up at the very top of the list found himself there for a different and extremely surprising reason. You see, it was this guy, model Peter Anthony, who responded to a contest. Yeah, I know, a contest that was organized by the Daily Express in London and one of their journalists, Patricia Lewis. Ms. Lewis had been keeping an eye on the casting developments for the film and had gotten an informal agreement with the producers that they would give the winner of the newspaper's contest a screen test and consider him for the top role in the movie. After Peter Anthony was determined to be the winner of the contest, Patricia Lewis, seen here with future husband Christopher Plummer, arranged for the producers to meet with Peter and discuss the possibilities of him playing 007. The producers definitely liked how Peter looked in a suit. He definitely had the look. However, after meeting with him, a decision was made to go with a more proven actor. And the rest, as they say, well, it's history. That isn't the end of the Peter Anthony story, however. He'd get a call again from the producers in the early 70s when they were looking to cast Bond for the film Diamonds Are Forever. Peter Anthony flew from New York to Los Angeles to read for the role. But end of the day, the producers of the movie were able to lure Connery back for another turn as 007. After that film, Connery said that he would never play James Bond again. More on that in a moment. If you want to know what happened to Peter Anthony, who now goes by his original name of Peter Bob, well, there's a great article that was put together by the French periodical The Connection a couple of years ago. One interesting thing, in that article, Peter says that he turned down the role for Dr. No. So who knows which version of the story is correct? Either way, it's good to know that he's doing well. Alright, remember when Connery said that he'd never play Bond again? Well, those of you who are James Bond fans, well, you know that he misspoke. He returned to play Bond one last time in the 80s in the ironically titled movie, Never Say Never Again. So who do you think was the best James Bond? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're at it, I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I would be absolutely honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Hey folks, you've found GSTV. That stands for Good Stuff Television. We celebrate entertainment from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. And the cool thing about GSTV, you never know what's coming up next.
Now at Penny's, authentic Batman toys and games, new and exciting. Wow! Batman and Robin color portrait, $1. Batman periscope, 77 cents. Batman doll, only $9.98. Batman horn, 77 cents. Batman card game, exciting fun for $1.19. Batman game by Milton Bradley, only $2.66. Batman and Robin button, 33 cents. Authentic cape and mask, 99 cents a set. Batman belt, only $1, and a wrist radio for only $3.99. Now at 7 big penny stores: North Park, Big Town, Richardson, Casa View, and Lancaster, Keyston, Dallas, Seminary South, and Richland Hills and Fort Worth. Be the first to have one of these new toys or games and receive free trading cards and Batman rings. Hurry to Penny.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.